Transmitting to you from Old Heart Radio.
Go. Holy shit. It's happening.
Talking about Dave Chappelle before we started recording got me thinking of the title of the movie, and in Half Baked, there's the infamous scene with the horse,
Yeah.
pop 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 pop. He's talking about
pop. Yeah, dude.
trying to feed him popcorn.
Oh my god, dude. That fucking the amount of junk food that horse consumed.
This horse is a diabetic. So classic.
I just love it. I love that was in the writing process. They're just like, okay, let's make the horse a diabetic.
So random.
It's so random, but so fucking
that's
good.
how the character lands in jail. It's the most ridiculous shit once you think about it.
Murdered a police horse with snacks. Oh my god, dude. Well, we are here with episode 51, man.
Yeah.
51. It's been a little while. There's a little bit of a recording pause that, but
It happens.
It happens. Life happens. Teeth get ripped out of one's head, and sometimes talking hurts, so you have to kind of hold off a bit.
I guess I didn't think about that. Yeah, that's a good point.
It was. My face was pretty swollen for a bit. Listen, I'm just going to say this. Not that this is what the podcast is about, but don't wait till your mid-30s to get your wisdom teeth out.
Right.
Just
kind of wild to think about.
Yeah, dude. I mean, I was reading, I got my row of front teeth on my bottom. They're kind of squished together looking.
Okay.
And I was reading that that's actually one of the first issues that rises up when you have your wisdom teeth going into your late 30s and 40s and stuff. It's your front teeth start, colliding with each other because everything's getting pushed. And I was like, damn. Yeah. Either way, though,
Hey, better late than never.
Yeah, I'm very fucking grateful to have gotten it done.
Yeah.
I'm also very grateful for this movie, that Popcorn.
Dude, it's a nice it's kind of one of those movies that just gets glossed over. Yeah. And it came out in 91, but it just feels so much like an 80s movie that I don't know. It's just
it really does. It really does feel like an 80s movie. And I mean, 91, right off the cusp. But one of the things I was reading about was that, 91 was the first year that a horror movie won at the Oscars. Silence of the Lambs won an award that year. And,
wow.
And so kind of helped solidify that horror was hopefully going to go places. But then you also have movies like this where it's it's kind of on the opposite end of a artsy, well done movie. I personally love so many aspects of this movie, Popcorn. But you're right. When you found, I think Fitz, you found it on Shudder, and it was just I had never heard of it, and I was just I don't know. When I read the synopsis, I was immediately into the idea, though.
Yeah, I've been wanting to watch it for a while. It's just one of those movies that I'll often find myself just going down a rabbit hole of just reading about new horror movies coming out, or lists of horror movies, and it's always a movie that every couple of months I'll see the cover and be dude, I need to check that out, and just haven't got around to it. So when it a lot of the times things will just randomly pop up on Shudder, and it's always a nice surprise. The Prowler just popped up. You know what I mean? So yeah, Popcorn. It's really interesting. Everything about it. It's just kind of a unique. Some parts of it are maybe a little cliche, but the whole killer with all, the killer's backstory and all the different different God damn it.
There's some unique like death scenes and stuff in
Yeah,
here,
there's some awesome death
know?
scenes. The killer being able to switch his look, and you know what I mean? It's just a really cool some awesome practical effects.
Well, and it kind of gives you this interesting, it's not like a full twist, but there's like a little bit of like, you know, you think that the movie's kind of going in one direction right off the bat, and then it kind of ends up like it's sort of around the idea that you think, but it has a bit of a twist, not a full Shyamalan, but
no. Oh my god, yeah, no. Oh, that's just like a fucking like a word now, you know what I mean, to describe. You know, he wasn't the first to, you know, necessarily develop a twist, obviously. So you think of some of the great like twist endings in movies, like April Fool's Day is one that doesn't get talked about enough. It's one of those like, holy fuck, you never saw that coming endings. Yeah. You know, obviously he didn't create it, but you know, he definitely it's had a panache for it, you know what I mean?
Yeah, oh for sure. You know, yeah, it's like he, you know, at least in like the more modern like memory, like he was the one that like really kind of like nailed it a few times in a row, and so it just kind of became associated, you know.
Especially that first time you watch Sixth Sense, and you're just like, damn, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, even I remember like even having heard what the twist was,
and seeing it, it was still good,
and and you're still just like, it fucking gets you, like you're sucked in one direction so hard in that movie.
Well, and then it's like, and then it's also like where you watch it again and you try to like look for the clues, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And so I don't know, it makes it like twists make movies more fun on multiple layers, I think, you know. But with popcorn here, that's what I mean, where it's like you open up with sort of like that scene with the main character Maggie, and she's sort of, you know, it's like sleeping, but then you kind of go into like the dream world, you know, what she's dreaming about or whatever. And it's like this is one of those things, like right off the bat, it kind of has that 80s sort of feel where it's like, you know, she's dreaming about this like, I don't know, little girl running away from like all like, you know, flames at one point, and then there's like a, you know, she interacts with like this hairy like wild looking fucking dude who like has like a weird knife,
like an Alibaba type,
dude,
like wavy dagger, like I guess that's how I'd explain it.
And so you're immediately like almost like right off the bat, I was like, okay, so maybe there's like some supernatural shit happening right now, you know, and like you know, but then you like wait, like she wakes up and you kind of like, she's like scripting like a movie or something, and so she starts like talking into like a voice recorder, like describing what she was just dreaming or something like that. She's like she's kind of pulling like a Stephen King and using her dreams and nightmares to help with a movie idea. It's like, it's kind of interesting.
Yeah, and so like the character that plays Maggie, you know, she's pretty someone that looks familiar, but you know, she was in like The Stepfather, an adaptation of Phantom of the Opera, so she's been in some shit. But then, you know, you get introduced to her mom, and you know, it's Dee Wallace, who is definitely like, she's more of like a and how would I put this? She's a scream queen, but she's more of like a scream, like, because when you think of a scream queen, you think of a younger generation, like a like a Neve Campbell or you know. So she's a little bit older, so she's like a scream like grandma, and I say that in like an endearing quality.
Yeah,
I mean, she was like E.T., Cujo, Critters. She's in a bunch of shit.
Listening to Dee Wallace talk about like the experience of filming Cujo is wild, man. Like, because I never realized how intense that filming must have been. But like like she's been. You're right, dude. Like she's Dee Wallace is an icon in horror.
100%.
You know what I mean?
100%. But yeah, Cujo, dude, that movie is nuts, man.
Yeah.
Like King has come up with a lot of, you know, awesome supernatural but like just a movie about a fucking rabid dog, and for it to be that terrifying, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, he obviously didn't direct the movie, but I'm just saying it was based off of his work. Anyway, Dee Wallace is awesome.
Yeah, and so when she pops up as Maggie's mom, it's kind of it's pretty sweet. It's always sweet to see her.
She quickly gets this like random phone call, and the person on the phone, and she gets like another one later, but she gets this phone call, and the person on the phone is talking about how the ninth circle of hell is reserved for, and then you don't hear, she likens it up to a prank at this point and doesn't think anything of it.
Which is like a really like, I mean, it's like the voice is all like, this is the ninth circuit of hell. It's like all gruff and like gnarly sounding. I can't remember, does she just hang up on it? Like she's probably just like,
this time she does.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or just like, what the fuck? We follow Maggie, who is, I forgot to write down the name of the college, but she's going to school, and she gets to school and she kind of gets bombarded by her boyfriend, Mark, who essentially basically kind of tells her, like either like we're going to fuck or I'm going to leave you. Like, and
dude.
Essentially he's like, I need you now. Like,
it's like mid-morning. He runs up to her like I need you now. Let's go back to my place. Like,
you don't know what you do to me. Like, do guys think that shit works? You know what I mean?
I really like. Yeah, it's like I've never approached it like a woman being like, I know that you think you need me to dick you down right now. Okay,
because that'll happen a lot in the movie
so
where the guy will kind of be like, you know what you're doing to me. You like, you know what I mean? Like, this can't go on much longer. Like, Jesus Christ. It's just creepy.
It is, and like you said, like Mark here is just sort of like almost gives her like this ultimatum where he's like, like we either like fuck basically like soon, or I'm just gonna fuck,
or I'm out.
I'm out. Like, and it's like, okay.
Yeah. She's she kind of talks about how she's busy with writing this movie and school, and then we follow up more of that because she's part of like the drama department or the film department actually. And we don't learn a lot of their names yet, but we get introduced to a main chunk of the cast here with Bud, Cheryl, Tina, Toby, Leon, Mr. Davis, and they talk about how their film department at the school kind of doesn't have that big of a budget. They're trying to come up with ways to raise some money, and Mr. Davis and more so Toby comes up with this idea to have like an all-night horror-thon complete with 3 movies that they specifically made for this movie, and it's pretty cool, these movies within a movie, because we got Mosquito, Attack of the Electrified Men, and Stench, and each of them have like a 60s or 70s gag associated with them that would actually happen in theaters. Like, I forget the first.
There's like one of them was like aroma vision or it was like there's like spectrovision, like there's one with like a stenchometer or something like that.
Yeah, where you have like a plug on your nose. But I wish I could remember the name of the movie, but there was a movie that came out where they did have like the electrified chairs like that in the theater that would give you like a mild, like it wouldn't shock you, but it would be like, you know what I mean, to make you pop up. And it was kind of like around that, in the 60s and 70s, it started with 3D, and then they were trying to do more 4D stuff, and it never really picked up. But they talk about how they're going to recreate that. You know what I mean? And this is their plot to raise some money for the film department. And it's kind of established.
It's a really cool idea, honestly.
Yeah, 100%. It kind of seems like Toby's kind of, like a horror nerd potentially.
Yeah.
'Cause he's the one that's, it's really his brainchild, and he's the one that's most excited about this. 'Cause one character even makes a joke about, oh, we should, do a play, or the guy that's in the wheelchair makes some cheesy joke about doing a play, but they ultimately decide to follow through with Toby and Mr. Davis's idea.
Yeah. And I mean, like there's a just shout outs to the local theater here in Olympia. They do once a year, they do something called All Freaking Night, where it's just that it's like an all night horror movie fest.
What?
Yeah. And they like, but ahead of tickets, they announce like the movie lineup, and it's different every year and everything. It's kind of, it's like, I just love that idea of like, the all nighter.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah. It's usually in the fall down over here. But
speaking of theaters really quick, I'm hoping it comes to Spokane, but like, every now and then when you go to a movie and you like get there early and you see, watching the preview, sometimes there's like this, it's called like Fathom events where they're the Thing is coming back to select theaters for its 40th anniversary, and I'm like, holy fuck, I got to see that in theaters.
Dude, same. I saw that it was going to be floating through the theater, and I was like, holy shit, I need to see if it's going to be screened over here or something, because it would be so cool to see that movie in a theater.
Hell yes, it would.
Oh my god, dude. Like, yeah. Anyway, so in Popcorn, they find like the film group. They find themselves at a theater, and it's the
Dreamland.
Yeah, the Dreamland. And it's a dope old movie theater, but they preface it as like it's they're renting it out for this event, but after they're done renting it out, it's like getting renovated or demolished or whatever.
Yeah.
And which is such a shame, a beautiful theater like that. But you also in this, you get introduced to Dr. M. In this sequence, who brings in all this cool gear. I
can't pronounce his last name, Dr. Massinine or whatever, but do you recognize him?
I recognize his face, but like he's like, he's I couldn't
plays
name
a bunch of shit, but like most people would recognize him as he played Dr. Hand. Mr. Hand, the teacher in Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
Oh yeah.
Macaulay's teacher, where he comes in with the fucking pizza and he it's just a quick bit role, but he's brilliant in this role, you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Like he's just like this, cinema aficionado who brings in all this like all these sweet props and gear to make this like move the theater like seem fucking crazy spooky and shit. Like
he apparently owns a movie memorabilia shop, and he also has this great like monologue where he waxes like nostalgic about how theaters used to be before the multiplexes and the good omniplexes, and it was just one theater, and we just put butts in the seats, and that's this great like where it's like you don't think about that, because like when we were kids, like that's just how it was, you know what I mean? Like I guess like maybe you'd have like two or three, but you know what I mean, we always grew up where there was multiple. When you went to the theaters, there was multiple fucking things to watch. Well, like, it wasn't just one flick,
Yeah, like back in Wenatchee, like they would always have at the Liberty Cinema, like they would always have. I think there was like 4 to 5 movies, and then they expanded into having like 6 movies there, and like. Then even during that time, you could go to like if you were in Seattle, that you'd find like those 10 screen multiplexes. There's so many big, huge like spots, and it is sort of. Like that's one of the things I loved about this movie was that it was centered at this place that has like so much character, you know what I mean? And it's like it's something that like I always loved about a theater. It was like, like, and again, I guess shout out to the Liberty, like even that the cinema with its, like handful of screens, it had so much character because it was like an old movie theater.
Well, and so much so when you're younger, because it's like an event, what I mean? Like,
dude, going to the movies was a whole thing, man. Like
it really was.
It was it
still can be. Like there's this I went to a couple of movies recently, and they play this kind of cheesy. It's like Nicole Kidman talks about how magical the movies are, but it's kind of true. You know what I mean? It really is an escape, and it's just a good time, and that's what going to a movie should be like. So
well, and, not to get too in the weeds, but like it is one of those huge things where it's like you're streaming, and like the way movies come out online now
has
so like like for people that have like kind of been alive since streaming has been around, it's sort of, I think it's sucked away the magic of that experience of going to the theater, being ensconced in that like, you know, dark room with and everything. And like, you know, when that was the only way to experience new movies and to like experience things like that was why it was, I don't know, you looked forward to it so much. Whereas like,
that's a good point. I don't know. I
think it's like people want it to be convenient now. And it's like, but you should make it an experience and not just look for convenience in that.
Well, you know? And that's like, I remember like, you know, drive-ins, for example, like
my God,
they're so rare. Like, are we going to, and going to a drive-in was an event in itself, but it's like, seeing the decline of that, like, is there going to be a day where we're not going to theaters anymore? Because literally, you know, everything is just fucking streamed straight. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That'd be sad.
It really would, man. Like I'm to this day, I still don't understand the fall of the drive-in, you know what I mean? Like, because it was like you just said, it like that to me was like one of the ultimate movie experiences, like packing up a truck bed or whatever you could with like some pillows and blankets, like getting some fucking snacks, like getting a few people and just
amazing.
Staying up as late as you can to watch that double feature and like, you know, being amongst that, like, I don't know, in that, and just the whole scene being in like a big parking lot, basically, you know, like having the radio hooked up onto the side of your car, like blasting the sound. Like,
there's something about it, man. It was just amazing. I remember those times going to the Viewdale and Wenatchee, you know, man,
dude,
damn.
Love it, miss it. But okay, so
we've gotten way off topic. So, you know, so we
Dr. M drops off all that stuff.
Yeah. We get a ridiculous fucking montage.
You gotta have a montage. Oh my God. And they're like, it's like this great montage of them like setting up stuff, like getting the soundboard gear, you know, plugged in, getting a popcorn machine like up and running. Like it's the way they decorate this space is fucking cool, man. Like it is. The shock clock, dude. That was one of my favorite pieces that you see him put up. It's like this like clock that like has like a fake beating heart that's like dripping fake blood.
Oh, it's so cool.
On it. It's like fucking dope, dude.
Yeah, we learned later that when the shock clock goes off, you know, the next movie is starting.
Yeah, what a cool ritual. But yeah, like, you know, like I said, it's basically just a montage for a while of them getting set up and like getting different costumes ready and stuff like that.
Right.
And eventually it kind of like it does sort of lead to the group, after all is said and done, they end up digging through you know, one more trunk of Dr. M's, and they find a film in there.
Right.
A film labeled The Possessor.
Well, it's not.
It's labeled like "Don't open" or something like
"Don't
that.
open." Yeah. So naturally, you know, they open it.
Yeah.
They find just kind of like a small little reel, and of course, you know, just like I feel like anybody would, they decide to watch it.
Oh God, yeah.
And it's kind of this, you know, it opens with a shot of an eye, and you can tell it's kind of like a, you know, it's not an actual movie. It's like someone filmed this, because it's like opens with the shot of an eye. This person repeats the word "I am the possessor" over and over, and then there's a cool spot where they're like, "Come into my head," and then they rip like the top part of their scalp open.
Fucking gnarly. And
like while Maggie's watching it, she comes to realize that this person that she's been seeing in her dreams looks pretty similar to this person that's in this video.
Yeah. And she ends up sort of like fainting or whatever. Right. While watching it. And, you know, kind of eventually comes to, and everybody's like, you know, what the heck? It's interesting because, you know, I feel like, who was it? Like Toby was the one that found it, or I think, and like, you know, when they're discussing the movie later,
well, because Mr. Adams,
it's Mr. Adams, never mind, that's what we're talking about. He's like describing like how you know, like somebody they're talking about like people who used to drop acid and like, you know,
Make
they made
avant-garde.
yeah, that was it. They make avant-garde movies sometimes.
Yeah, he talks about this guy named Lanyard Gates, who was the leader of a cult film, not necessarily a cult, but a group of people that made cult films.
Yeah.
And yeah, they would drop acid and make these avant-garde films. And he goes on to say that, you know, he actually was part of this group too, but realized, you know, how kind of weird Gates was in that he had filmed one of his movies and it was a critical failure, and that Possessor was his basically his like answer to that. You know what I mean? It was what he followed up with. And he also explained some of the dark history that coincided with this movie.
Well, because he describes how the director screened it or whatever, and then that same night he went home and like murdered his family.
Well, no, it happened at the theater. He like
it happened. Okay, yeah.
He purposely filmed like the whole movie except for the last scene, and then he murdered his, you know, we learn more later about what really happened, but he tells a story that he murdered his wife and children, and then set fire to there's a fire that ravaged the theater.
Yeah.
And so, like I said, we kind of learn more about like what really happened. But that's what happened. That was, you know, so he's dead, you know,
yeah.
It's kind of a lot to take in.
Yeah. I mean, it just sounds like a fucked up sitch. It wouldn't make me want to like watch that movie. And I think that's what they decided. There's like this, you know, brief moment where they're like, should we screen this during the horror-thon? Right. And they're all like, nah.
Like, let's give it back to Dr. M.
Yeah. But then you kind of, shortly after this, you kind of pick back up at Maggie's house, and like, you know, you see her mom, Dee Wallace, you know, like she's like locking the screen door or like the sliding door or whatever they have. And she, you know, kind of gets spooked by Maggie, and then like, you know, tries to convince her, like, I just off the cuff, just tries to convince her to like quit the festival. And she's like, let's get 2 tickets and let's just go anywhere, you know?
Yeah,
because it's like so out of nowhere almost, and you're just like, dude, like something's bugging you.
Yeah, because Maggie asks her if she ever heard of Lanyard Gates. She tells her no, you know, and she mentions that this guy is in my dreams, and that's when Suzanne, Dee Wallace's character, yeah, like you said, it's kind of like, let's pack up and go. But you make a good point where if she really didn't know anything about this person, why would that be like where her mind runs to is like, let's fucking pack up our shit and go on a vacation.
It was just so suspicious, you know? And then shortly, you know, like right after that, you know, she gets a phone call. Maggie leaves the room, but she gets a phone call and is like, you know, it's that same voice from earlier. And, you know, the 9th circle of hell is reserved for traitors.
That's right. Yeah.
You know? And the voice even tells her that he's in Dreamland, you know, in the movie theater or whatever.
At Dreamland.
And so you're just like, what the fuck, dude, is going on? And she does like Suzanne gets in the car from there and goes to Dreamland, fucking gun in hand, and like immediately some spooky shit happens though. She's like walking up to the fucking you know, ticket window, and the window just lights up, you know, and there's nobody around it, and you're just like,
all the lettering from the like falls down, and then you see the like it looks like maybe some early CGI, but like all the letters fall, and then Possessor shows up, and then like you said, the ticket booth lights up, a ticket pops out by itself, and the front door swings open. I'd be like, fuck this.
Yeah, dude, I would not be going in that fucking theater at that point. Nah. I mean, like even with a fucking pistol and with me, like I don't like whatever I just saw there, like the letters flying off the fucking Mark keyboard and everything. It's like there's some spooky shit going on. I don't think I can bullet my way through this. Like,
yeah, no.
But you know, I mean, Suzanne's more fearless than I am, apparently. So she, you know, because she goes into the theater and, you know, like walks in, and you know, the possessor just starts playing on the screen, or what I assume is that movie, and it's, I guess, you know, a shot that you didn't see earlier. There's some cool camera work in this scene where, you know, like the possessor movie starts playing and then it cuts off, and Dee Wallace like turns around, and you get this great kind of like shot of like it's just, you know, silhouetted around her eyes. And it's like dark, it's like pitch black elsewhere in the theater, and it's just a cool shot, like framing her eyes and stuff, and her face.
And real quick before we continue, it's interesting because the person that directed this movie, Mark Harrier, this is the only directing credit he has. He was like previously in like the Porky's movies, and he was an actor, and this is the only movie he's ever directed, and there are some pretty nice like shots in it. So I was always like looking at that, I was like, why was this the only fucking film he directed? You know what I mean? Yeah,
dude, I would have definitely like give him a budget for something else after this, because it's got some unique aspects, like, and you know, like during this whole thing, like you see like another individual kind of like run in the background, and like you know, like it kind of, you know, spooks Suzanne enough to, you know, and then you even see like somebody like approach her like at one point, who she guns down. And then like this great shot where like some green light starts flashing, and these arms come through the wall like behind her and just pulls her through the fucking wall. Yeah. And it ends on this like, you know, zoom in of like
she shot like a prop. It was like a prop that she had shot. Yeah, the arm was just like ripped through, and you're like, what the hell just happened?
It was super cool.
It was.
And so, you know, but you don't learn anything about her fate from there,
right?
You know, because it just kind of cuts to like the next morning. Maggie's getting up. You know, there's like a note from her mom being like, you know, hope everything is good. You
Tonight's the night.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then we cut to the night. You know what I mean?
Yeah, dude.
And then, you know, a couple parts in the first part of the movie, you know, like there was the part at the school, a couple small parts at her house, but the rest of the movie's pretty, except for a small part where Mark leaves for a brief part, but the majority of this movie takes place in one spot. And there's just something about horror movies where all of everything is like confined to one small setting. There's just something about it that is really enjoyable.
Well, and it gives, you know, like I feel like too many movies try to spread their sets too thin, you know, and so like to have like something like set in like this, like in a movie theater, where, you know, there's a finite amount of space in a movie theater, so you know they're gonna have to run into whatever the fuck is there eventually, you know.
It's a good point.
Yeah, it gives, I don't know, I like it too, but this horror-thon is fucking popping, like like it cues up to the night, like you said, and there's like immediately like the one of my favorite things is like there's like this dude out front like making like singing a song about like the fucking movies, like, you know,
Jamaican band, and
it's like, and like people are in costume,
dude, like everybody is in costume.
It's so dope. Like
there's some elaborate ones too.
Yeah, and one of my favorites was I think it's one of the film students or whatever. He has like the two heads, or maybe it's not a film student. It's just a random person.
That was an awesome one though, and he makes one of them puke.
Yeah, dude, it's like that's fucking genius. Oh man,
it was awesome.
Yeah, there's just so much, and this is where, you know, like you said earlier, you learn that the shot clock, whenever it goes off, it's another feature going on, and like it's just, it looks so much fun. It made me really, really want to like go to something like
that. Yeah, dude, that'd be amazing.
But you know, the first movie they end up queuing up is the Mosquito.
Yeah, because we also before the movie starts, like Maggie's in the ticket booth, and we see from the behind, we see like a burnt hand slip through, put some money in, and as this person's walking by, you get a back shot where they looks like they have like a wig on and a hat, and they say the line, "Are these movies going to be shocking as Possessor, Sarah?" And walks off, and this, like, Maggie leaves to follow this character as like you said, they queue up Mosquito. Their Mosquito starting, so it's like the film within a film, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
And Maggie also sees that Mark is there with another girl named Joy, which obviously
Mark just couldn't wait.
I guess. Yeah.
Fucking douche. Yeah. And but they all have they have like sunglasses that have like mosquito, like a mosquito label on them and stuff. Like it's part of like the prop for the the 3D glasses.
Because the Mosquito's the 3D movie. Obviously, the Attack of the Electrified Man has the shocking seats, and then the stench is like we have these odor pellets that they're going to use to use a gas, like a smoke machine, to funnel this into the theater and have disgusting scents go along with the movie. So,
which is pretty fucking cool. But like he said, Maggie kind of tries to follow this individual for a second, and then she eventually finds her way up to the projection booth.
Yeah,
and runs into Toby, and just like he describes to him like I think I saw this person from the fucking Possessor, basically, and he's just like, well, that person died, like, and we didn't, and we all we saw in that movie was like some hair and some like an eyeball,
right? But she also, they are talking, and he doesn't believe her, but he does bring up the point that Lanyard Gates's body was never identified.
Yeah.
And so she's like, I want to find this guy. And Toby tells her to watch the booth, and he's going to go take a look. And then we get our first, it's the first death scene, but it's not from the actual movie. It's from the Mosquito movie. And there's this like ridiculous scene where these characters are driving, and the giant mosquito lands on a car, sticks its proboscis, like its long nose, through the car and sucks this guy's like brains out of his head. It's hilarious.
It's pretty cool. And it's like his eyes start bulging and his head kind of sinks in. He's like, whoa. It's pretty dope. And during this whole thing, like like you said, Toby's out there investigating. He finds himself getting locked out of the theater. And dude, I can't say enough how much I did enjoy like the film within a film thing. I keep cutting back to like that kind of stuff. It was pretty cool to see. But you also, during this whole time, you see Mark, he gets up, out of his chair from to go get something, and some popcorn, and this big old dude eventually, like, oh my god, sees the open seat next to this lady, and he just like walks on up and just sits down next to her.
It's ridiculous.
It's ridiculous.
She just like lets it fly.
Yeah, she's like, okay, I'm with you now.
Then Mark goes up to kind of he spooks Maggie, and she accidentally like headbutts him. He has quite a few mishaps happen to him. We also see at this point that Mr. Davis, has this like a remote control for the Mosquito, and he's getting it ready, for its cue here soon. Actually, that happens right now. Excuse me. So the Mosquito is coming to its conclusion, and Mr. Davis is getting ready to send the Mosquito out. And he does. It flies around. The crowd interacts with it, and then we see from like up above Mr. Davis, we see a pair of black hands with a controller of its own. You're like, what the hell is about to happen here?
Yeah, dude. and it's sick, man. Like, so, you know, like the other person, like, you know, it's like an RC car controller or something, like,
Right.
uses it to, like, you know, send the mosquito basically flying back down towards Davis, and it just, like, it straight just impales the motherfucker, like,
Yeah.
and oh my gosh, you know, like, and then well, my favorite part was not only does it impale him, but like he kind of like starts like going back out, like he's like, and I was like, oh my god, is it gonna ram him again?
Yeah, I thought so, or something. But yeah,
it tries, I think, but like it's such a cool shot of like it zooming across the room and then like going, you know, and you see, what'd you call it again? What's the name for it?
Proboscis.
Like, the proboscis, like the fake proboscis goes through his chest, awesome. And so you see it like pop out his back, you know, and everything. It's
blood dripping from it. Yeah. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, man.
And then we get like you know, that death happens, and then we kind of follow up and we see like you know, we don't quite yet know who the killer is really or what their intention is, but we see that this person is you know, has a lab. It's a lab, you know, somewhere in the basement of the theater, and is making a mask of Mr. Davis's face, and you're kind of like, what, you know, what's this leading to?
That's it's one of those moments in the movie where you're like, whoa, dude, okay, this is a game changer. Like, so something's going on here.
Yeah,
and
it's
like,
not just your like run of the mill slasher.
Yeah.
You know
which is super fucking cool, man. Like it, like the fact that, you know, I like some of my, you know, some of the grossest things to me are like, you know, like in movies or in real life, when you find, you know, you hear about people who like use human skin for like things, you know, like, or like Leatherface was, you know, like obviously in movies, probably the pinnacle of like, you know, the human.
Ed Gein. Yeah.
And Ed Gein in real life, you know.
Yeah, that's still so wild to me, man, that he like literally had fucking lampshades and coasters and shit made out of fucking human skin. How depraved can you be? But anyway.
Yeah. It's fucked up, dude. Like, it's just grody to think about.
But what were you getting at though?
Oh, I just think it's such a great fucking element in this movie. Like,
totally.
You know, because it's like, but it's also like the way they do it is not like, it's not like, you know, it's not like Leatherface where it's like sewn up patches of skin creating something. No. It's like this dude somehow is creating like the full like face of like somebody else, you know,
and and we see more of that later, and it's just so the practical effects.
Yeah,
man, they just did not get enough praise. Like, oh man, yeah,
I agree. I feel like this movie is just very underrated for what it is.
Yeah.
And there's a shot of it like picking up a mask. It's like the whoever it is like picks up this mask at one point. It's just like a blank mask, and it's like twitching and stuff.
Yeah, he's like, I think he's using his fingers to make it.
Oh, is that what? Yeah. Okay, I was like blown away. I was like, what is this black magic here?
Oh wow.
Yeah, you're right. That makes sense. He's just manipulating it himself.
And we'll talk more about that a little later when we see some more of the masks in action. But from there, you know, Mark and Maggie are kind of talking. She's basically explaining to him the same thing that she talked to Toby about, you know, Lanyard Gates. And then Toby comes in himself, mentions how, you know, he thought that maybe he got locked out on purpose and all the trials and tribulations he had to face just to get back in. And then Maggie gets upset at a comment that Mark makes. And she ends up walking out, and then they Attack of the Electrified Man is getting put on, and we see Bud, the guy that's in the wheelchair. He's kind of the he's at this control board, you know what I mean, where he's in charge of giving people a shock, you know what I mean, as something's happening.
Which, oh man, that would be super fun, honestly. But yeah, and then you know, you kind of see some other like movement happen. Like Maggie swaps out somebody at the ticket window again.
Right.
Mark goes to get popcorn fucking finally, and this is when you have a great interaction. I don't like Mark as a character. So when he goes back into the movie theater and like he finds this jabron, like this big old Bubba just sitting in his seat, you know, it's so fucking great. Like the reaction, the dude just like not even looking at him, like gets up out of his chair and just like gets in his fucking face. And
Well, first he tells him to eat shit.
yeah, he's like, eat shit. Eat shit, asshole. But then he just fucking decks him. And and there's this great like slow, almost like slow motion-esque shot of like the popcorn flying in the air and Mark getting set flying backward. You know?
Yeah, because you don't see the punch. You just see, like you said, like him like flailing with the fucking it's great.
I loved it. And well deserved, honestly.
Yeah.
But and this is, again, you kind of go back up to like Bud and you find, that he's gearing up for his role in this movie performance, basically.
Yeah, and he's talking to Tina about how there's like a timer that needs to be set, but right now he's going to have to zap people manually, and he asks Tina, obviously because he's in a wheelchair and can't, just freely roam around. He asks Tina if she'll go talk to Mr. Davis about it. And at the same time, like you said, Maggie had switched out with Tina at the ticket booth, and she picks up her voice recorder and listens to it and hears, it sounds like whatever voice, it sounds like it might be Lanyard's voice, So she runs out to go tell somebody, but another mishap with Mark happens where he gets fucking bonked in the head again. And as she picks him up and tends to him, and she talks about how she has, she's like, I have proof. I have this voice recording. But she, when she had, bonked Mark, she somehow had smashed the voice recorder too. And so her proof is gone. But she also talks about how, Tina had to have seen something. So they run off to try to find Tina.
Yeah. And I just, again, with the movie and a movie, you have this sort of interesting dynamic where it's like cutting some shots of this, like, this movie that's playing. And I at this point, I loved it because it was just literally, it's like in the movie, they're walking this dude, I think his name's Vernon, down death row. And he's just like shaking everybody's hand in the jail as he's going down, like, see you on the other side, pal. Like one of them's like, keep the seat warm for me or something like that.
Well, and I love it because this movie within a movie actually has like a premise that's happened in a couple movies, which is actually a pretty cool premise of this person, this in most cases it's a serial killer. The serial killer that's going to be executed via electric chair, and then through some way or another they don't die, and now they have these powers of electricity, and they're going to wreak vengeance. And it's such a cool like premise for a
I agree. I would say if I knew I was gonna get some sort of extra power out of it, I'd be like, shock me.
Yeah.
I'd try to stand it. But the crowd's waiting for him to be fucking toasted. Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah.
I like one guy was the one who's like, saute him, brother.
Yeah, all the cheesy jokes. That's the only part that I really didn't like about the movie is some of the corny little random jokes. Because one person's like, make mine medium rare or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just a little ridiculous. But having said that, I'm glad that that's not really a thing anymore. But now that I'm thinking back, like when I was younger, sometimes those things would happen at theaters. You'd have people that were, interjecting or jeering at the movie or thinking they're funny and having some little thing to say.
It was, like it was like a thing when I was a kid, I remember like a little bit of it, but as you got older, it became less and less of a thing up until really like the only time you fucking heard a peep from somebody in the movie was like on like an opening night when like a really big movie would drop or something and people would be like, yeah,
Good point.
Like when Star Wars, like the prequel trilogy was like put in theaters, like every opening night on that people, as soon as the credits would roll, like, people would be like, oh, fuck yeah. Like I'm pumped now.
Rightfully so. But that's a good point.
But yeah. I don't really like it anymore. Like even like going to see an older movie, like I'm here to watch this, like watch
totally.
The film, you know what I mean?
I get so annoyed at people sometimes. Like I'll be that person like, dude, could you shut the fuck up? Like I'm trying to watch this movie.
Yeah. I've harshed some people before.
Yeah.
But it's truth.
But
anyway.
like I said, Maggie and Mark are trying to find Tina. But Tina is trying to find Mr. Davis. And so us as viewers, we know that Mr. Davis is dead. Obviously, no one knows this. So Tina is backstage, and she comes across Mr. Davis, and then we learn here that, we don't learn for how long it's been going on, but we learn that Tina's maybe a little bit of a class whore and that she's been fucking Mr. Davis, and she even makes a joke about, and they wonder how I get all my extra credit.
Oh, dude, for real though. God damn, dude. Fine, Tina. But yeah, like when she runs into him, you're just thinking like, okay, who the fuck is Davis now?
Because it looks like us. Yeah.
It looks exactly like him, right? You're just like, it's a spot on. It looks like Mr. Davis. But when she goes into when they go in for a kiss, it's so grotesque, dude. It's like, and awesome. And it
had some Brian Usna Society vibes here.
Oh my God, dude. I'm so glad you said that. Yes. Like that, like the mouth, yeah, yeah, dude.
Because it's like gruesomely, because
she's like, the kiss, and then it's like pulling parts of his face off the mask.
Yeah, it's like pulling the mask, the mouth part of the mask, and she sees that obviously, this isn't Mr. Davis, it's someone, and then the person, rips the mask off, and we get a quick, really brief glimpse of their really fucking gnarly face that we see more later. And then, Tina gets strangled because when she had walked up, she kind of had some kind of like rope or something that she had playfully, was around her neck and playfully put it around Mr. Davis's neck to like get closer to him. So he uses that to fucking choke and kill Tina.
Yeah. She's out. She, not like, I mean, like the best part about her kill sequence is definitely like the mask thing. And you see it more later, but like the brief shot you get of like the person's face underneath the mask is fucking awesome too. Reminds me almost of like, Cenobite kind of like Hellraiser adjacent, kind of makeup, you know what I mean?
Okay.
And so I don't know, it's just well done. And this ends up, you don't really see anything else with her body necessarily in this sequence. He dispatches of her, to take your word.
And you fucker.
I didn't mean to, it just happened.
Well, we get a quick scene here where he uses her like he's like standing behind her and has her like body propped up to talk to Mark and Maggie. But yeah, I guess because what happens next? Because what happens next is he chokes her to death, and then Mark and Maggie are backstage, and that's what I'm talking about. When they come across, they see it's kind of dark, and they see Tina, and whoever the killer is behind her and fainting her voice, and it mentions like, shh, the movie's playing. They ask where Mr. Davis is, and or she talks about how Mr. Davis went into the box office but just left. And then they accidentally locked themselves out as well.
Everybody's getting locked out of the dang theater. But I guess you do, after they get locked out, you do kind of follow up with Bud again, right?
But real quick, when they do get locked out, we kind of, Maggie's starting to maybe she has some theories in her head, because she talks about how the killer can change its appearance. You know what I mean? So she's starting to think she thinks that Lanyard Gates is alive and is able to change his appearance to look like someone that he's not. And they also notice Mr. Davis's car is still in the back parking lot. So they're kind of, confused.
Rightfully so. And you're right. And then you follow up with Bud, and this is one of those sequences where you get this like, you see you don't see any face or anything, you just see like a silhouette almost of somebody or in Tina's outfit that she was wearing, basically.
Yeah,
and
it's Tina.
Yeah, and so they go up to Bud, who's manning the that control booth like we were talking about,
right?
And at first he thinks there's something sort of playful happening, because Tina starts like strapping him like onto this chair, and like then by the time like Tina puts like a gag in his mouth,
right?
Like he's like, what the fuck is going on here, and
yeah, and then it gets a little more sinister from there, because she puts on kind of the same strap around his head that a person would get if they're in an electric chair, and then us as audience, we know that it's the killer in this Tina disguise, to start shaving his head, to prep him, and then has this whole elaborate thing with jumper cables and everything to essentially plug it into the machine, and plays a voice recording of Lanyard's voice explaining that, when this light turns yellow, that fucking Bud's going to get electrocuted and killed. So it's kind of grim.
Man. Yeah, it's kind of twisted, man. Bud didn't do nothing to nobody.
He's a guy. I will say this. One of the things I like about horror is that it doesn't discriminate. You know what I mean? Like, for example, there aren't many examples of a character in a wheelchair getting killed, but the ones that are glorious, like fucking Friday the 13th Part 2. It's one of the gnarliest kills. He gets the fucking machete plunged into his head backwards and then falls down a fucking never-ending flight of stairs. It's glorious.
The never-ending flight of stairs. Oh man.
Yeah, because the electrified man is starting to near its end.
Yeah.
So.
Like, which is kind of cool, because you're seeing shots of that movie where like he's basically the killer is just going around like electrifying different people in different ways, and so it's kind of sort of fits right in. You see some of the crowd still getting like shocked in their chair up until this point, and like Bud's desperately trying to reach for like the cable that he can.
Yeah.
But he unfortunately does not make it in time.
Before you jump into his demise, though, we get a quick scene where Mark and Maggie make their way back into the theater, and Mark's shitty day has continued, because he looks like the seat of his pants has been ripped out. We learned that he plummeted his way over the fence and got attacked by this Doberman. So he's just really not having a good day. But yeah,
he's having a rough go, this guy. But yeah, dude, like you see with Bud, you see that light turn yellow, and he like immediately starts just getting zapped, like he's getting jolted with electricity, and like it's like causing everything to go haywire. The lights are flashing. My favorite thing was the hot dog rack on the counter just starts spinning really fast.
My favorite was the popcorn that's just like this fucking pop. Yeah, it's pretty good. It's a nice touch.
Yeah. And then
the hot dog rack.
Then you see like you basically see like his chair kind of get blown backward against the wall, and he is no longer in it, and
it also plunged. It has some undesired effects, because it plunges the whole theater into darkness. And we have these couple characters that we really haven't seen much, but Leon and Joni, we're talking about how this wasn't planned, and they want to go find this reggae band as a distraction until the power comes on, and they do, and this reggae band comes on to play a song about Pokemonia Day. Which, will you look that up, please, and tell me what the hell Pokemania Day is?
What is it?
Because the song is like, today on Pokemonia Day. And I will say this, the weird, like the reggae music in this movie, because it's not like full on in your face like reggae music, but the band that makes these songs you can tell that it's a reggae band. It's such a kind of like a weird contrast to the movie.
Okay, so it says Pokemania comes from the Spanish term for small madness, And from what I'm reading is Pokemania is a Jamaican spiritist religion whose worship services are characterized by singing and dancing and like spirit possession and stuff like that.
Interesting.
So it's got to be centered around that probably.
Is it so? It's not to be confused with Hulkamania.
Oh, oh God, dude!
Hulk's fucking theme song is the best.
It's fucking.
I am a real American.
It can never be topped. Or the video, or the music video of him like flying around in different places, like playing guitar. Jesus.
But that's interesting. So the Pokemonia Day, it's kind of interesting where it's maybe this thing focused around, some form of spirituality or, it's interesting. So anyway, so they're kind of appeasing to the crowd to make sure this crowd doesn't leave. You know what I mean? Because there's still another movie on the docket. And while this is going on, Maggie, branches off from Mark and Cheryl, and she comes across, she notices the switchboard that was just electrified.
Yeah, it's like it's still like kind of on fire, even stuff like.
Yeah, and then she comes across. She sees someone like hunched over in the wheelchair, but it's not Bud.
No,
it's because we learn later, obviously, that this isn't Lanyard Gates, but whoever the killer is looks like who she thinks Lanyard Gates is in this scene with the long hair, some form of mask that makes the character look really creepy. Because the character pops up and was like, says some line about no kiss for daddy.
Yeah, dude. No kiss for daddy.
Yeah. He tells her that she's Sarah and that she's his child. You know what I mean? But she doesn't want to hear it. And she runs off from. Yeah.
And the killer or whoever it is, also says this line of like, time for you to join mommy dearest, and like,
oh, that's right.
And so it gives you this.
Yeah, it's kind of sinister.
It reminds you, you're just like, oh shit, something happened to fucking Suzanne earlier in the movie.
Yeah. Yeah. Good point.
But yeah, Maggie like bolts after that, and then like while she's like running away, you see like flashes of. The same kind of stuff that she was dreaming about in the beginning of the movie. Right. Yeah, that's true.
But
Which is kind of interesting. Yeah,
it was, because it was like more flashes of like a child, a woman, someone getting stabbed, an explosion, a gunshot. So it's almost like she's starting to, and we learned that more here shortly, that she has some like repressed memories. So maybe this could be part of it. Because she runs into Toby. And mentions to Toby that Bud, Tina, and Mr. Davis are dead. And this is what I'm talking about, where she talks about how she remembers the whole thing. But before she can talk about that, Joy, we have a quick scene where Joy, Mark's date, kind of comes in and sees them, makes a little joke about them being together, and then leaves. But this is where Maggie realizes that she's Sarah Gates, and remembers that Suzanne is not her mom. It's actually her aunt, that her mother was the one that was killed. Gloria Gates was her mother, killed by Lanyard, and that Suzanne stopped Lanyard from killing her by shooting him, and then they got away. So it's a lot to take in.
Yeah, it's like all of a sudden like, whoa, okay. Like,
Yeah, because in her head, she thinks that Lanyard is back to finish the film and kill her. Yeah.
Well, which like at this point, I would be like pretty fucking crazed on that. Like, I'd be like, what the fuck is going on, man? Like,
yeah, I feel it's not that wild of a conclusion to jump to.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, normally I would, but in the context of what's going on, like, yeah.
And like Toby seems pretty comforting in this scene too, like, because he's sort of like, he has this weird line. It was just sort of weird the way he said it. He was like, "I'm here for you, Maggie, all the way." And he's just like, okay.
Yeah, he's a little different.
Yeah, but
even just like his like the way he talks and his mannerisms, you know what I mean? He's kind of a quirky guy.
Yeah, but they go on like a little investigation. They find is it like, I don't know, it's like under the stage or something? It's like,
yeah, it looks like some form of like a trap door that goes downstairs.
Yeah, and like it even like, you know, as you know, Maggie and Toby kind of make their way down, the door like swings shut behind her.
Because Toby trips too. Because Toby trips, and then the door.
Right. There's a lot of tripping in this movie.
Yeah, there is. Because he trips, the door kind of swings shut on her, and then she's downstairs and can't find Toby. We get this, and then we get something cool happens where, you know, she's down in the basement looking for Toby, and we see Mr. Davis kind of in the darkness briefly walk by. And then we see someone walk by that has like Tina's mask on, like halfway.
Yeah.
And then disappears into the darkness. This voice starts calling Sarah. And then we see her get grabbed by a man in a creepy mask. But then we don't like follow through with that quite yet, because it cuts back to the band finishing up. They have perfect timing, by the way. Because they literally finish the song and then the lights pop back on.
Yeah, and then the crowd celebrates, and like, you know, who's it?
Sorry.
And they like immediately you know, start screening the stench, which is an amazing aroma-rama.
Yeah, aroma-rama, but I think that's what it is. Yeah.
And you see all these people like take like, I don't know what, basically like clothing pins with labeled with like the stench, and everybody starts putting them on their nose and stuff.
Yeah, because we forgot to mention earlier, and it's not really that important, but when they're getting ready for the movie, you know, there's like a scene with Joni and Leon where they have all these different like disgusting odors, like body odor and stale fart and dead dog, and you know, that they're gonna use for this movie. But yeah. But so yeah, the movie, the stench is getting ready to get played, but then we cut back to you know, what's happening in the laboratory, and this is where we kind of get a big reveal. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man. I mean, it's a really cool sequence, you know, it's a scene, because, you know, you see like Maggie, like kind of like, you know, strapped into that weird device that was being used for making masks or whatever earlier.
Yeah.
And who you think is Toby is like talking to her, but
Toby's voice.
Yeah, it's Toby's voice. And, you know, you see like a whole bunch of different masks on like some mannequin heads. And then you see this shot of him with this like face just sort of like half on. And it looks so fucking cool, dude.
It is.
Like you can see parts of like the back of his head, which looks definitely different and like a little more fucked up. But like the way the mask is, like the ears are just kind of like flapping off the sides, and it's Toby's mask, I believe.
It is, yeah.
And it slowly keeps peeling off more as he's like moving his head around.
It's pretty solid, because you know, we don't learn quite yet like what his motivation is, but we learn the killer is Toby. It's not, you know, Lanyard Gates isn't back from the dead. It's Toby. Yeah. And he talks about how he's perfected this quick transition from face to face, how he uses electric voice harmonics. You know, he talks about how, you know, and then he does explain his intentions, that, you know, he was there. His mom was part of the cult too, and that he was there for the showing. And that, you know, he got caught in the flames, his mother died, and that he was very, very badly burnt, and had to lost all this flesh on his body, and had to have, then we see his gnarly face where it's like there's these metal rods in it. And it's like the one thing I will say is, I feel like they could have came up with a little stronger, more idea for why he's doing it. Because I could understand being upset at the situation that happened, but it wasn't Maggie's fault. You know what I mean? Like he's mad at Suzanne because he blames it on the fact that Suzanne, shot Lanyard. And then this fire happened that took his mom and deformed him. But at the same time, it's like if that wouldn't have happened, then Maggie would have been dead, and that could have possibly happened anyway. So it's kind of like a really weird. Like,
it is sort of a weak reason to be turned into a fucking killer, really. But
otherwise than that, the movie's awesome.
But he explains, like, during this whole sequence, I forgot to mention, he cracks a couple of jokes about how being like multi-identical and like, and then, at one point he puts on Tina's face and he's like, in an instant I'm like multi-sexual or whatever. And like,
I'm the class bimbo.
Yeah. He uses the word bimbo. I love when people use the word bimbo. But like, you're right. Like he like the trauma that he experiences, it seems like he's most upset about how like he was received afterward. Like he complains about like, he's like, I had to glue my face on every day before school to not scare the other kids and stuff like that. And then he kind of goes on to just start describing his like process, right? Like his eyes are fucking wild. They're like this yellow or whatever. And he calls them when he's like talking about how he fixes them, he's like, first we put contact lenses on these fried egg eyes.
He has like a prosthetic nose and a chin piece. It's elaborate.
It's quite a process, and he puts on some of it, and he's
really good. Whoever this actor is, like, I don't really recognize him from anything else, but he does a really good job of playing this character unhinged, because he goes on to have this like nod to the Wizard of Oz. It's my Scarecrow and Oz face, and he's just kind of just wild in this scene. You know what I mean? And it does a really good job of portraying him as just like totally this just like loose cannon where you have no idea what he's capable of. You know what I mean? Because like you said, there's obviously some trauma. You know what I mean? Losing your mom and having 90% of your body burnt would fuck anybody up
for sure
for life.
So like while this is going on, the stench is still playing upstairs, and so you have this cut to
real quick, Toby also mentions here that his plan is that he's going to recreate the showing of Possessor, but that it will go as planned, and then maybe his mother won't die and he won't be burned. But then
which makes no sense. Sorry, dog. That doesn't make any sense.
That's not how it works.
You're right. And then he sort of it kind of picks up with Joy leaving the theater and deciding that she goes up to Mark, who's basically not been with her this entire time, and is like, I want to go home now, and like and after he says no, she tries to like, I saw Maggie leave with Toby and they were getting hot and heavy and all this shit. You know what I mean? But one of my favorite moments in this movie happens. It's like this great interaction between I can't even remember Cheryl and whatever that fucking big dude's name is. Who like he comes right up and he's like gets in everybody's face, and Cheryl just fucking decks him like and like knocks him on his ass, and then like who is it? It's like Joni or whatever. Mm-hmm. Like she like basically just like helps pick him up, and they like throw his ass out the fucking door. Joy tries to take a swing at Cheryl, and she just fucking like grabs her and throws her out the fucking door, and they just lock him out of the theater. It's like it was just such a badass scene, dude.
Yeah. She's like a one-man wrecking crew, and she does have this great line where the big guy, and he's like, I ain't never hit no chick before, and she's like, oh yeah, and that's like when she fucking decks him.
Yeah, she's fucking whammy.
Mark's like, I could have done that.
Fucking Mark, dude.
He's such a tool.
Yeah, dude. Mark's just a goob, man. And like, because like right before all that happened, like they were patching him up from his most recent like I don't know, bonk on the head or whatever had happened, you know. But yeah, so that happens. It's a great sequence, and then you get back down into Toby and Maggie, right?
Real quick, so that scene happens, and then Mark is talking to Joni and Cheryl, and like about what Joy had said, and they're basically like, there's no way Toby and Maggie are hooking up, but he asks where Toby lives because he wants to go to his place. Joni gives him Toby's address, and he leaves through the side door to head off to Mark's place, and then Joni has to run off for her stench cue, and then we cut back downstairs for a little bit longer. So if you want to continue.
Well, it's like you kind of get reintroduced to what Suzanne's been up to, really.
Yeah.
Toby like unveils that he's like put her in this, I don't know, like a fucking full body cast, and like it has like even like a mold for like a fake gun or whatever.
Yeah. He wants to recreate, what happened.
Yeah. His attention to detail is admirable. I'll say that.
Yeah, and Suzanne, is obviously upset, and because basically Toby, is blaming her, and she tells Maggie how her father was giving her acid, and which is wild to think about, and that she had to get her out. They try pleading to Toby, but he doesn't want to listen. He just has this weird monologue where he's like, I'm rubber and you're, one of those where he doesn't
he says the classic like grade school line, I'm rubber, you're glue. Like whatever you say bounces off of me. But
he doesn't want to hear it.
Yeah.
So.
And then, you see he kind of like realizes it's like he's got to get moving himself. He grabs like a little outfit that looks, you can tell it looks exactly like what Leon is wearing. Yep. And so you're like, oh shit, okay, is he's gonna like, that's the next person he's impersonating or whatever.
Because as he runs off, he's like, we have a half hour till midnight, I still have a little time to kill.
Yeah. And his interaction with Leon is so fucking good. Where it's like, he clearly has put on. Well, at first you see Leon go to the restroom, and he's like pissing in the urinal, and Toby walks. What?
Yeah, real quick though, before you explain what happens here, I wonder how they pull because I know how they do scenes like this with like identical people where they like do CGI or whatever, but back then because they look identical, I always wonder how they pull a scene like this off.
Yeah, I agree. Like where it's, do they film it like separately and then just like edit the frames together,
okay.
or it's like
that's probably
like,
what it was.
I mean, you see that sometimes, but sometimes like if you, I don't know if that's what happened with this, but they do look incredibly similar at least. So it feels like it's like the same person, honestly, the same actor. But Toby walks in and like. Right next to Leon in the urinal lineup, which is a no-no.
That's a no-no. Yeah.
But even to push it further, just like turns sideways and just starts pissing on the dude's leg, like
the disrespect.
Yeah, dude. That dude's a genetic dissenter.
Oh my god. Man, Toby's fucking up. Man, white folks in general is fucking up. It's one of the best.
Oh, jeez.
They coming.
Oh my god.
If no one knows what we're talking about, it's a Chappelle Show reference.
Yeah.
So.
Look it up. But so like I said, he's getting his leg pissed on, and then Toby like grabs him and like drags him off to like one of the stalls, shoves him in there, and like locks the door. Somehow the lock is on the outside of the door.
I've never seen that. Like maybe that's how that was. I don't know. I don't know.
It was weird, but then like he drops some sort of fucking baggie of like, God, I don't know.
It's weird because it doesn't look like what, like, because earlier when they have like the stenchorama things, they kind of look like a hockey puck shape, but whatever this is, it looks like it's obviously something that, you know, was producing a similar thing, but yeah, kind of it just like quickly plops into the toilet and incapacitates.
Takes him right the fuck out. Yeah, it's like, I don't know, breathing some chemical fumes or whatever. Like,
yeah, probably wasn't very healthy.
Probably not.
But yeah, I love how he just fucking pisses on his fucking leg. And
I know.
It's super random.
I was not expecting that.
Not at all. Not at all.
But anyway, so you know, like that's another one of the film students is out now, and you know, then it's kind of,
it's an interesting scene that happens next because we cut back to Joni, you know what I mean, who is working on the stench queue and has her back turned to the door, and Toby coming in as Leon, you know, was originally coming in and planning to kill her, but before he has the chance, Joni goes on to talk about how, you know, asking Leon about how she thinks Toby feels about her because she's been walking around, you know, in love with him, and she has no idea how he feels. And we obviously know that that's Toby. And so it was really cool actually kind of scene where, you know, he hears this and spares her life and leaves, you know what I mean? Goes downstairs and throws a fucking temper tantrum, but spared her life, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it is. It's like, it's kind of an interesting like character scene in that way. Cause
I liked it. Yeah.
Yeah. I liked it. Well, it gives them like a dynamic, right? Like it's not just like,
yeah, I don't know. Not saying that I'd ever agree with any killer's motivation. These are obviously fictional characters, but sometimes I like it when you can make a character like that sympathetic. You know what I mean? Yeah,
exactly. It gives them. I mean, making them more human by like giving them those kind of emotions.
That's a better way to put it.
It makes you like almost. It makes you as a viewer like a little more attached to the situation in general.
Right.
You know, not that, like you said, not that it's like you're like, all right, oh, maybe this killer is right. It's like, it's just you. I don't know. You feel like they're not just one-sided anymore.
They're not total monsters, you know what I mean? They have some maybe if that's all it was, but at least they have one like redeeming quality about them. Yeah. So it's just interesting. You know, he could have easily, you know, killed her, but he spared her life. So
yeah. Well, and you know, from like you said, he kind of goes down and like has a little freak out sesh, and
right,
and then he's like, it's like he starts, well, like Joni's like still like pumping gas into the crowd and stuff
for the stench, because the stench is coming to, well, yeah, it looks like the stench might be somewhat close to reaching its end runtime.
Yeah, and so like it like almost like I guess behind the screen in the backstage or whatever.
Real quick though, before this all happens, we kind of follow up with what Mark's doing.
Oh yeah, that's right. He gets the Toby's apartment.
Oh wait, no. Hang on. I'm wrong. I'm gonna backtrack. So yeah, Leon just got killed. And he has that temper tantrum, and then we see that behind the screen, Toby is wheeling Suzanne out. He's starting to get set up for, you know, whatever his master plan is, and has this like ridiculous kind of cheesy line where he, you know, she's in a cast, and he goes, "I'm so glad I cast you in this one." But then we follow up with Mark. Yeah, we had to do it. Yes. He hadn't done it yet, so.
Yeah, boy.
Oh my God.
Oh, but yeah, you're right. So then we kind of like, you kind of find out that, well, like Mark gets to the apartment and he hears some commotion happening.
Yeah.
And he gets up, like, goes up the stairs and he sees like the landlord or whatever, like, you know, basically packing up Toby's shit and like kicking, in the process of kicking him out. And the apartment's like, you know, full of like other kind of, there's like a couple of other like face looking things in there. It looked like there was like, you know, clippings of the, you know, the incident, from the movie screening that they mentioned, and the, you know, clippings of like the, you know, Maggie and her aunt.
Yeah, Mark kind of learns, you know, that maybe some of the stuff that Maggie was talking about, she's not so crazy, you know, because there's an article about Sarah, and then there's an article about Toby. And yeah, he's just got a lot of really weird shit around his apartment. Not only that, but the landlord's talking about screaming throughout the night, weird chemical smells, things in the bathtub that look like body parts.
Yeah, he's just like, I should have kicked him out a while ago.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, dude, if you think about all the things you're talking about to me, like, I definitely would have been concerned. Yeah.
That seems like a good basis for kicking a tenant out for sure.
Yeah. Well, and then so like this all leads Mark to like booking it back to the theater. The landlord has this like line where after Mark runs off, he's like, "Well, what are we gonna? Well, why don't we do lunch or something?" Yeah,
he thinks he's like a movie agent or something. He's like, "I was in a picture with Gloria Gates." Like, yeah, you want to? So weird. Yeah, but yeah, Mark, you know, Mark makes starts making a beeline back to the. He starts making a mad dash back to the. We're throwing in so many inside jokes that people are, you know what I mean?
Yeah, they love it. They love it.
He starts making his way. You know, obviously, I don't know where else he'd be going. Maybe he, you know, going to get in a game of Super Smash Brothers.
Yes. Stopping at the Vines establishment for a game of Super Smash Bros. On the way back to the movie theater.
You couldn't blame him.
Get a bag of Famous Amos first.
Oh my God. That snack drawer, bro. I feel like, you know, every now and then people, you know, we were there, you know, if someone would say, "Hey, can I get a snack?" I feel bad because I feel like every day I was, you know, because there was like the Famous Amos, there was a really good fruit snacks. Like I was always dude.
I probably ate like fruit, not fruit by the foot. I ate fruit by the fucking yard at that house.
Yeah, no shit. Shout out to the fucking Kim Vines.
Yeah, man. The Vines family.
All of the Vines family. Yeah.
Oh man, but anyway, okay. So where are we at?
Where we're at is where Toby puts the reel for Possessor in place. The stench gets cut off. You know, the fans and the crowd are kind of booing. They don't realize what's going on as, you know, the Possessor starts playing. And as Possessor is playing, you know, Cheryl and Joni try to stop it, but they can't. Toby, you know, is behind the screen. He puts Maggie into an Iron Maiden and puts a dress around it. You know, Mark gets back and notices that Dreamland is locked, so he has to start scaling the wall like Spider-Man to get inside. Yeah,
like climbing up the side.
I would just fucking, if that place is gonna get destroyed in 3 weeks anyway, I would just shatter the fucking glass and went in that way.
Yeah, dude, just go find a fucking rock. It's
not logical.
Yeah. And then Toby like enters the theater while everybody's booing.
That's
he like
right.
enters from the back and he's like razzing the crowd. He's like, "Oh yeah, I hate this movie." Like,
right. He's just such an oddball character.
He is. I mean, but that's one of the fun things about that character.
It's true.
He's so screwy in a way, like, you know.
But yeah, so he's kind of getting to a point where, you know, we see Possessor being played on screen, and he's sort of like mirroring what's happening in the background. And then we get to the point where the screen rises up, and now the crowd, sees Toby. They don't know it's Toby, obviously. Sarah's in the Iron Maiden, Suzanne's in the cast, and the crowd obviously probably thinks that this is part of the show. You know what I mean?
That was one of the brilliant parts about this whole shot. I loved it. Like, you have the whole crowd where like she's screaming for help, like, somebody come on, help me. And they're just jeering and laughing and like egging it on because they think it's part of the show.
And he even plays into that where he's like, like, should we save the maiden or should we kill her? You know what I mean? Like getting like totally playing this crowd up. And then he realizes, he makes a line about how, the fatal stroke shall fall exactly at the stroke of midnight. And then he gets the room to start counting down from 30.
Oh my God. Right. Like, they're all they're all so wrapped up.
It's like a frenzy. Yeah. They're like, some of them have like rushed to the front of the stage. Like it's a concert. You know what I mean? Like it's pretty fucking awesome. You know what I mean?
Oh man.
Because there are scenes like that sometimes in movies where, there's something going on and the people don't realize it's real. Like there's kind of like that scene in Scream 2 at the beginning, but this is a really good example of that where in this situation, you would actually be one of those people that thought that this was like part of the fucking show. You know what I mean?
Totally.
It's brilliant.
Based on like everything that had been going on, because everything had been so interactive at that point.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, and then so, oh my God. So Toby's about ready to start, to plunge the knife, and motherfucking Mark finally gets in like the top window and he's on like the balcony away from the stage.
It's so
and he like screams, gets like like at Maggie.
We're at like 7 seconds left,
and then he just like I don't know. First thought in his head, he just whips off his belt, slings it around this wire, and just fucking zips down like the wire, like the zip lines down the fucking wire towards the stage.
Yeah, but they do something that I didn't expect, because I thought he was gonna I thought
he was gonna kick the dude or something,
Yeah. You think he's gonna like zip down the zip line, like fucking drop kick him or whatever, but no, it was pretty unexpected. So
it plays into Mark's character so far. So like,
yeah, it does.
So like in a way, like as he's zipping down, like he I don't know, he runs into like the mechanical box that was like used to like keep to wire the mosquito onto its track. And he hits it, and then he just goes like fucking tumbling into like a wall of boxes and debris. And then and like the mosquito, oh, I loved it.
It's great because it rips from its cord and all of everything that was keeping it there. Yeah.
And it plunges into Toby, which is fucking great, dude.
Not only does it like plunge into him, but it has this great shot where that the momentum is carried through to where not only did he get impaled, but he's getting electrocuted, and then it just keeps swaying back and forth. This grand death is getting played out to everybody that's there. It's so fucking cool. It was great. And the crowd is cheering this whole time, and it's like, so here's the thing. What's interesting about that is because even if they finally realize that this wasn't that this was something real, they just watched this killer get killed. So it's just interesting.
They still watch. Yeah, they still just watch somebody die. Like, and to have them like, I don't know, like it puts you in this like weird, like, whoa, dude, like when will that dawn? As soon as like the police show up or whatever, like the actual authorities show up, will it start dawning on people that like this was a real thing, I don't know. And like that would be messed up. Like that would really mess with you, I feel like.
I think it would. It'd be interesting because there's really not much more to the movie after that. Like you mentioned police, and obviously naturally, they show up, they wheel away some dead bodies. Suzanne and Maggie have a little chat. Like we don't see any of their conversation. Like it was probably like their conversation just ended. Suzanne leaves. Mark and Maggie embrace, and she talks. It's actually a pretty funny line where she goes, "Man, you were great. You were like Indiana Jones back there," and he's like, "More like George of the Jungle."
Yeah, dude. Watch out for that. Yeah, dude, and that really is a kind of. And he has this cheesy line where he's like, where she, she says something like, "Everything's a movie to me,"
Yeah.
and he goes, "Well, let's make the next one a comedy."
That was like the only real like I said, the only real downside of this movie was some of the cheesy dialogue.
Yeah,
but
overall, man, this movie was fucking cool. Like,
I'm really glad that I finally saw it and it lived up to you know what I mean? It was entertaining. It was unique. It was creative. Had some good kills. Had some awesome fucking practical effects.
Yeah. Honestly, this is a movie I would definitely find myself watching again,
100%.
just for entertainment value. It's like a random 1991 gem, if you ask me.
Really,
but
though. There's not a lot of, it doesn't get talked about enough, you know what I mean?
No, I've honestly never heard about this movie. Like,
okay.
And that's why it was so it was such a good pick for me, because I don't know, I just wasn't aware of it, and I feel like I don't know. I wish more people would be aware, because it's such a fun one. Like you don't get too invested in the characters, so it's just kind of fun to see what happens to them.
Yeah, you're not angry when they die. You know.
No, and Toby is like kind of this interesting, like unhinged character. There's some funny moments. It's set in a like the setting, like you talked about earlier, being at the theater and everything, is such a kind of like it's a fun setting to be watching a movie in, as well as overall the idea of like this, like something happening at this all night horror movie marathon is I don't know, you want to almost find yourself there,
Oh yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of cool, really good elements to this movie, and I feel like maybe, I don't know, I just feel like it's kind of just like it's faded into obscurity, you know what I mean? And I feel like it maybe doesn't get talked about, maybe because it wasn't like an exceptional movie, but it also wasn't like a really terrible movie to where it doesn't get like discussed in either of those
that's a good point. Like
discussions,
because I feel like that is like with horror, like the movies that the most are like one of those two categories, like
totally
like really well regarded, or like regarded because they're really terrible.
Yeah.
But
what would you rate this? What would you rate it?
Ooh. Oh my god, what's the mosquito thing again?
A proboscis.
I would rate this 8 gigantic proboscises through the chest out of 11.
Okay. Okay. I would give it I'm gonna say 8 for fuck's sake. I was gonna do something with a mosquito.
Oh, shit.
Mosquito related. No, you're fine. I would give it 8 we had to do it. Which is unrelated to the movie, but 8 we had to do it out of 11.
Yeah. I love it. Oh my god, dude. Oh yeah, I can't say it enough on this episode. This is definitely one, if you have Shudder, definitely find yourself watching this one, because it's worth it. It's only like an hour and a half or something. It's just a fun fucking watch.
There's a lot worse things you could do with your time.
Damn straight. All right. Well, hey, this has been a solid episode 51.
Damn right.
We're on this back end of 50. We're going to start climbing our way to motherfucking 100. You know it. So we'll keep coming back for more.
Yeah.
And I guess we'll see him on the next one, huh?
Yes, we will.
Indeed.